Hello, Love Bay family, and welcome to the Mental Health Hour. I'm your host, Felicia Fischhoff, registered psychotherapist and founder of Rooted in Resilience, Psychotherapy and Wellness. And tonight, we're kicking off something new, our very first Barbershop Tuesday, a space created for men, by men, where real talk meets real healing. But before we start, I want to say our disclaimer that this platform, though it's insightful and powerful, it does not replace mental health care and seeking out therapy. So please, if you're struggling, find a local therapist and take care of yourself. Tonight's theme is Beyond the Hustle, making space for your well being. We live in a world that tells men, especially Black men, to keep grinding, don't stop, carry everything, and guess what? Say nothing. Be strong, be silent, but that pressure, it comes with a cost. And tonight, we're talking about what it really means to take care of your mental health as men, even when life feels heavy, whether it's work stress, family responsibility, or the weight of things you've never even spoken out loud. This space is for you. And listen, if you haven't already told your brother, your friend, your uncle, your partner, your cousin, your nephew, I want you to stop what you're doing right now and reach out and let them know to tune in, because this conversation could be the one that they didn't even know they needed. And Love Bay family, this chat is for you too. So we want you here with us. Drop your thoughts, ask your questions, let us know what's landing for you. This is supposed to be a collective conversation, and your voice matters too. So I'm honored to be joined by four powerful men who are showing up with wisdom, honesty, and lived experience. The first is Josh Dale. He's a registered psychotherapist with over a decade of experience supporting individuals through trauma, addiction, anxiety, identity exploration, and life transitions. He's grounded, he's compassionate, and he takes a collaborative approach to his therapy style. He's especially passionate about making space for men to unpack emotional suppression, burnout, and racialized trauma. And he believes that healing happens when we feel seen, heard, and safe to just be. Kunle Ifabiyi is a registered social worker and psychotherapist with over 9 years of experience supporting individuals through life's toughest seasons. His work spans community, mental health, public health, schools, and private practice, all rooted in his passion for helping people find clarity, connection, and purpose. As a Black man in the mental health field, Kunle brings lived experience and deep insight to the conversation tonight. He believes healing begins when men feel safe enough to speak honestly without judgment or pressure to have it all together. Now, Andrew Peterkin is also a registered psychotherapist with a master's in counseling, and he has a deep commitment to hold space for real, honest conversations, especially with men who have been taught to hold it all in. At Amoja Psychotherapy, he works with individuals, couples, and families, offering grounded and culturally attuned support. As a Black man and therapist, Andrew knows that vulnerability isn't always easy, but it's necessary. His approach helps men unpack their pain, rewrite the narrative, and reconnect with their inner strength. Matthew Paris, our community voice tonight. He is a creative entrepreneur and digital strategist with over 8 years of experience designing digital spaces that connect, inspire, and make impact. As co-founder of In Development, a branding and design agency, Matthew helps businesses bring their visions to life through thoughtful strategy and people-first design. With roots in hospitality and leadership, he brings a grounded, community-minded approach to every room he steps into. He's here to speak truth, hold space, and remind us that being real is part of being strong. So, welcome, 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 my brothers.
Hey, Felicia.
Yay!
Great to be here.
Hey,
Hello, hello.
Here.
Happy to be here.
Oh my goodness. I've said this before, I'm going to say it again. I am just so happy to be the princess of the hour and to just really make space for these important conversations. And tonight's theme, right, is beyond the hustle, making space for your well-being. Why is this topic important for men in our community?
I think, yeah, maybe I'll start it off. I think even in the title, Beyond the Hustle, maybe a lot of us don't realize that there is something beyond, that there is maybe
Mm,
rest beyond or life beyond. We're kind of stuck in that hustle. A
yes.
lot of times in my practice, people talk about it as a cycle.
Mhm.
I'm just stuck in
Yes.
this cycle. I push through, I push through, I push
Mhm.
through. I'm not able to have space to actually process. And so there is something beyond the hustle and in terms of taking care of our mental health, taking
Yeah.
care of our emotions, not feeling like we have to live life in that cycle. Sometimes people talk about it. I'm just stuck in survival mode. There's life beyond that. There's life
Mm,
beyond the hustle that puts us there. So that's for me. How about my brothers here? What do you think in terms of yeah, why this is an important conversation?
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you hit the nail on the head. It is very important to see our lives as beyond the hustle.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, as men, from a young age, some of us maybe we started working at teenage years, 14, 15, and
Mm,
over the years, our identity tends to be built around work,
mm,
yes.
accomplishments, and that's the way we see ourselves or view ourselves. That's the way we introduce ourselves. That's everything that matters. That's identity. And
mhm,
oftentimes we see men, and when they retire, it could
mhm,
lead to deep depression, just kind of losing that
mhm,
sense of self. So we don't want to wait until that time. It is important to make time for our self-care. It is important to make time to care for ourselves, find other passions, other interests. Our life should not revolve only about the hustle, about the work. We need to take care of ourselves and be all rounded. So yeah,
mhm.
very, very vital topic. Thank you for bringing this up.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
no, Conley, I 100% agree. It's we define ourselves as men by what we do, and we lose that identity of who we are. And
Yes.
this conversation is important because it's going to allow us to dive deeper and identify who we really are.
Mhm,
Yeah,
Yeah,
mhm,
it's good.
I 100% agree. I think for a lot of men, we're just like constantly pushing and trying to move forward, and a lot of times we're drained. We're going through difficult situations, and we don't have time to rest.
mhm,
And there's an expectation of many of us to be taking care of like others in our families, our wives, whatever the case may be, right? And
mhm,
yeah, we don't have that time to rest. We don't have that time to reflect. We don't have that time to heal from certain things that we've gone through. But we feel like we just have to push through everything, and eventually it gets drained.
Yeah.
mhm,
So even a lot of my clients, they feel like that a lot of times. They feel like they're not good enough and they're doing enough. And they just feel really broken.
mhm. So, I'm hearing a lot about identity and survival and needing to push through. Where does this narrative come from?
Mhm.
Mm.
That's a
Good.
good question. Where does
Yeah.
it come from?
Yeah.
I think a big part might have to do with the way we are socialized, the way we're raised, the kind of
Mm,
expectations that's been put on men
mhm,
growing up, what our parents expect of us, what our friends expect of us,
yeah.
or partners expect of us. Over the years, men have just been expected to figure things out. When a
Mhm,
man is going through struggles or challenges, like, no, pull yourself up at a bootstrap, figure it out, be a man. That's often the message we get. There's this connotation like, no, no, tunnel through,
mhm,
pound, figure it out, don't take a break. So we have been socialized as a people
mhm,
to have expect men to push through, to not give up, toil. It
mm,
is healthy on one end, but also we want to balance it out. We don't want to
Yeah.
do that to the point where we don't take rest, we don't take care of ourselves. Our body, the way our body functions, our body communicates to us. We need to learn to listen to our body, to figure, what do I need? I've told, I've walked out this. Maybe I need a break. Maybe I don't need to go this extra mile. Maybe I can continue later. It is important to take a break, to not just go all the way, because sometimes we run ourselves down. We run ourselves down to the point where sometimes it's detrimental. So society, where does it come from? We were socialized, expect. So we need to change that socialization. We need to let men know you need to take a break. It's okay to take yourself. It's okay to take a nap. You're a good man. Use your masculinity. You wanted to work 18 hours a day. It's okay to pace yourself. So we can change that socialization so that men feel okay to take care of themselves and not just power through in all situations.
I like that. I think even within that, alongside that, like going off you is it's almost a misunderstanding of the word strength, right? This idea of oh, you got to be strong is this idea of oh, you just got to push forward, you just got to push through. It's almost you exert yourself. You're in that cycle. When I talked about survival mode, your body, as you said, Kunle, your body communicates to you. Your body's communicating something. It's saying we got to do this, and so we're stuck in that maybe anxiousness, that survival mode. Our adrenaline and cortisol's up. All this is happening, and it's this idea of this misrepresentation or misunderstanding of the word strength. Like, oh, we just got to push through. That's what it means. Men are supposed to be strong, so we don't have a chance to see something beyond the hustle. No, the hustle is exhaustive. It is, you got to push through it. And I think redefining the idea of strength for men. What does it look to be strong in terms of being able to show our vulnerabilities to our brothers, right? What does it look like to be able to have boundaries and say, you know what, like I'm going to take that nap, or I'm going to take this break, or, you know, some men feel like, oh, I got to be strong. I got to be there for others. So I can't take care of myself. And what does it look like to have that strength to be like, no, you know what, I have to take care of myself. I have to be there for myself. So if I do want to be there for others, I can be. But if I'm constantly pushing through, if I'm stuck in that cycle, if I'm stuck in the hustle, I'm going to burn out. As Kunle said, I'm going to burn out. I'm not going to be able to be there for others. I'm not going to be able to step into the things that I want to do. So this idea of strength needs to be maybe redefined of what does it mean to be strong in all aspects, not just physically pushing through, emotionally, right? And intellectually, whatever it is beyond just the physical. We're more than just physical beings in terms of only for the physical. We do have emotions. We have a nervous system, right? Let's figure out how to care for our bodies and what does it mean to actually be strong holistically.
100%. I 100% agree. And I think too, just to expand on what you two spoke about, I think one of the biggest things that men feel is guilt. In that moment of rest, guilt, I think, is one of the heaviest weights. Like, okay, I'm resting. Should I be resting? I should not. I see other people being busy. Okay, I'm going to have to step up again. I think that's one of the biggest points I think men face. And obviously you face the whole stigma that's happening around men, as we've been alluding to. But I think guilt and fear and not feeling like you could be fully vulnerable without everyone else saying, no, you're a man up, come on, push through, you got this. So I think that's another thing too, that, you know, in breaking down those things, it's external but heavily internal, and finding that peace and saying, okay, I don't need to feel guilty for this.
That's good.
I 100% agree with you guys. I love what you guys are saying. Like, I think for a lot of men, they again, like, they're trying to push through, they're trying to like get all these things done, and it's training over time. And like I'm just drinking a water bottle right now, right? And like I just think, like, if you have like all this water in your bottle and you're sharing it to like all these different people, you're making sure everyone else is good, and you're not taking care of yourself, like that water is going to deplete. So imagine that water is like your strength, your emotions, just everything, right? Eventually it's going to deplete and you're going to have nothing. You're going to start feeling depressed. You're going to feel low energy. You're going to probably start getting like really angry and frustrated, right? And and like that's why it's important to be taking care of ourselves, but then even allow other people around us to take care of us as well. Because a lot of times we feel like, oh, like I'm a man, I don't need nobody, I'm good. can do this by myself. No, you can't. Like, honestly, and we have to like, be able to accept that.
That's huge too.
Okay.
Definitely.
We have a question from the chat from Ms. Crazylicious, and she's
I love the
asking,
name.
what can the people around you, I know I love the name as well. What can the people around you, women for example, do to support you guys in asking for help when you're feeling conflicted between asking for help and quote unquote feeling weak or addressing the guilt about it? Great question.
That was a good question.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the things coming to my mind is with that guilt piece, right? And we want maybe a space where we're not going to feel judged. Like our walls might be up in those times when we feel like, oh, should I ask for help? No, I got to be strong. So my walls are up. I don't want to be vulnerable. And so with people around us, whether it's our partner, our siblings, whoever, Miss Crazylicious talked about women. It's approaching the whoever it is, brother, father, with this safe, non-judgmental approach, right? Like I need to know that if I'm going to be vulnerable to you and say I need, man, I need rest. I need to take care of myself for a minute. I need to just not be okay for a minute, that I'm not going to be, made to feel guilty about that or shame or judged about that, that I'm going to be supported. So kind of that safety and support, I think that's what I think of when I think of myself and even my clients, right? When they're ready to be vulnerable, sometimes it's hard to step out in that because they think, oh man, I'm just going to be made to look, weak, or I'm going to be like, oh, this guy can't take care of a household, or this guy can't do what he's supposed to do as a man, right? And so then you're just filled with that shame, and it makes you, I don't know, for you guys, it just makes you not want to be vulnerable again. It makes you, okay,
100%.
screw that. I'm gonna stick with the hustle. I'm just gonna go in that, because when I try to step out of it, what happens? So I think that safety, non-judgmental, that support of like, hey, what I hear you. What is it that you need? I think for me, that's what comes to mind. So Matthew, thank you for bringing up that piece about guilt, because I think I don't want to feel guilty if I need a break.
No, 100% agree with you, man. And just to expand on that, I think there are moments, obviously, in every relationship, regardless if you're married, girlfriend, family members, brother, sister, there are moments where if you are vulnerable and you feel shot down or you don't feel heard, in most cases, men go back inside, and that is it. I think that's one of the biggest battles. So now it doesn't take much for me to say, okay, I was vulnerable, I didn't feel safe. Okay, I'm just going to hold it to myself and continue to bear the weight. And I think having a heart and a mind to be aware in that sense, where, okay, yes, we understand, women are stereotypically more emotional. They thrive off of the emotion. Men have a lot too. It's just expressed very differently. And I think when it's, I'm exhausted, do I feel heard? If it's like, listen, I did a lot too. I had a busy day too. And this is obviously not about men versus women. We don't want that. But everyone has to be able to feel safe, to feel vulnerable, and know that everyone's going through it. We think it's just us. We are all going through it. And I think it's acknowledging and respecting and giving that love in those moments of vulnerability will allow for any relationship to grow. So, yeah.
That's such an amazing question. Really, really insightful. And yeah, Matthew, I agree. Just coming up with that guilt piece, because oftentimes as men, we feel guilt even without anyone judging us. That guilt comes up, and it takes a lot of work for us to learn how to process that guilt. No, I deserve this. I need to rest. I need to care for myself. Coming back to the question, what can we do, people around? This just reminds me of when I started taking time to reclaim space for myself. So myself, when I started becoming apologetic. Yes, that guilt to be inside. And sometimes the people around me, it could be a look, it could be a glance that I just feel like judgment. But like, no, I'm going to do this. No, and I have to be forceful and just, I deserve this. I work out. I know I'm a hard worker. So no, I'm going to rest. So what people around us can do is normalizing men taking rest, normalizing men. Yeah, there are times, there are seasons. There's times you might have to grind, work a lot. There are times you might have to seem like a workaholic. And then there are times where you need to feast, you need to chill, you need to relax. And it could be a month, it could be 2 months. You just normalizing men having space to rest, to do what they need to do, to find their passions, to spend time, to connect with other men, to connect with other people, to have fun. This is what life is made of. So we want to normalize men. And sometimes we could do that by asking those men in our lives, asking them, would you like a break? Do you think you like to take a nap? Sometimes it's insisting, sometimes it's suggesting. Because you might ask first and like, oh, are they testing me? Are they trying to
Is this a trap?
when you really mean it, over time they're like, oh, I see you working, validate you. I think you need to take a break so you become that stronger. And maybe over time they begin to believe, yeah, I do deserve to rest. I do need to take a rest. So normalizing that conversation about men taking rest, I think that's something we could do, and creating that space. And when they need to rest, not judging us, say, oh, something that brings my head. Oh, your mates are outside. They've woken up since 4 a.m. They're in Toronto. What are you still doing on bed? No. We need to let go of those judgments. Men can take rest.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I love what you guys are saying, and I love the idea of like normalizing rest. And I think like, because I do hear a lot of men saying like, oh, like sometimes they just want to sit down and play a video game or go for walks. And then people, well, especially with video games, someone might say like, oh, you shouldn't be playing video games, like you're wasting time. And they might be even thinking that in their heads, right? So like they start thinking like, you know what, like I shouldn't be resting. I need to be working. I need to be doing this. I need to be doing that. I need to be moving around. And their body's not getting rest. Their brain's not getting any rest. And they're just getting more and more stressed. So I think for people around these men, I think it's important to, you're right, like normalize like rest, normalize being able to play video games, normalize going outside, normalize going to the gym, normalize whatever that man feels comfortable with and what he considers rest.
And Andrew, I love that piece you mentioned about just wasting time. That's something that comes to a lot of people's mind.
Yes.
Some of my clients, I actually write them, this is your prescription. I know I'm not a doctor. This is your prescription. Rest. I had one of my clients, no, this is my prescription. I wrote a letter, take time off work, travel, go to Europe, go watch a soccer. That's the prescription.
Yeah.
I love that.
Came back, they felt weird. So yes, it is important to not feel like you're wasting time. Actually, take time and waste time. Do it. And don't feel guilty for it. You need it.
That's true.
I must say that I am so happy for all of these questions in the chat. Come on, Love Babe family. So proud of you. So we have a follow-up question from Miss Crazylicious. She's asking, and if those situations occur with your partner, so going back to her question about, feeling conflicted and guilt, and she's asking, how can that type of rupture or disruption of relational safety be repaired to help you try to be vulnerable again?
I want to keep the momentum going from Andrew and Kunle. I love where they talked about normalizing. And I think what I see on top of that or beside that or supporting that is this idea of intentionality, right? And so if there's a thing that's been, relational safety that's been broken as a man has tried to be vulnerable, and you just got to try again, right? You're trying to rebuild that safety, but we have to see that intentionality, right? That you are trying to normalize it. And I think it does look a lot of like what my brother said here of not just having the conversations, but then also the actions. Like, hey, what do you need? Like opening up the conversation where the man can share, right? Maybe he felt closed off before. So allow him space to share. Hey, how are you feeling? I don't think I did a good job last time of actually hearing you out. I want to hear how you're feeling. And I might sense like, oh, this is I can see the intentionality here. I can see that it's genuine. Yeah, here is how I've been feeling. And I begin to share and pour that out. And then your intentionality comes in of like, okay, so what can we do? maybe maybe you have some list of things you always need to do. Is there a way that I can help, or is there a way we can put that off? Can we, as we said, play that video game, take that space, right? So it's not just normalizing, it's also having that intentionality to put that into practice. So hey, having that conversation, taking that conversation and actualizing it. I think that's a big one to so that the man sees, right? Oh, that there are being intentional about the space, of making that space for me. Oh, this conversation is something that we're now bringing into the household or to the relationship or to the friendship. This is something that, okay, maybe I can try again, right? And as they try again and it's actualized and there's that follow through, it's like, oh, okay, this is now a safe space. I can be real. I can speak about my weakness here, and there could be something that's done about it collectively.
100%. That was flawless. Like that was perfect. Honestly, though, it's I mean, you pretty much nailed it. And people can only be at their best when they feel restored.
Yeah.
And I listened to an entrepreneur say that he runs a company, and he said the only opportunities he has where he can actually be a visionary, where him and his wife go away for 6 months out of the year, and his team runs on its own. He said, I would have not been able to grow my business if I did not have time to actually rest, restore, and just dream.
Yeah.
And I based on what I do, we work with a lot of business owners, and this is the type of conversations we have with them. But in life, when you have that moment to rest, you have that moment to restore, you want your man at his best, or your brother, or your father. You need that moment. You need that moment so that he can actually rest, restore, and actually have a plan and vision for the future, for the house. And that resonated with me too, just to expand on normalizing it, just to expand on that rest. And it's applied to anything in life when you think about it.
Yeah, so it's good, Matthew. Yeah, very good.
Really great. In addition to all that has been said, talking about repairing that rupture, we can do that maybe even by naming it to this person, to this brother, partner. Like, I feel like maybe I haven't held space for you in this regard. I feel like maybe I haven't been supportive, and just open space for that conversation, like Josh said. But we want to name what we're feeling, what we're sensing. We want to be vulnerable. We want to be vulnerable first, in order for them to. We can't hold back and ask them, "Oh, you be vulnerable. You show all your insights." No, we show our insight first. We show, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm noticing. And I'm trying to see how best can I support you better going forward. Asking them, what would you need from me? So I want to make sure that we do this. I want to make sure that you're healthy. How can I support you? So naming it, having those vulnerable conversations, and asking what best way. We don't want to have all the answers. We want to figure it out together with them. So having that conversation with them.
Good. That's good.
That's good.
So good. We have some more questions in the chat. Good job, guys. Again, I'm going to say I'm so proud of you. From Lavina Mendoza, what are the main barriers that prevent men from seeking help for mental health issues?
This is a deep one.
Yeah.
I think we all took a moment to be like,
Like, wait a second.
This is not a new question for me. A couple of years ago, actually, when I got into private practice, and I noticed people were coming in through the doors, mostly women, were like, where are the men? So this question came like, I want to go do a PhD, and this is going to be my research topic. Why don't men come to therapy?
That's good.
We're beginning to see changes nowadays, and that's good. We want to continue. And that's part of this conversation, normalizing men asking for help. I think one of the reasons we see that men don't seek therapy in that sense, maybe because of the idea, the socialization we talked about, that a man is meant to figure it out on his own. A man is meant to do stuff, pull yourself up by the bootstrap. And sometimes maybe some people feel me going to seek help shows that maybe I'm not inadequate, or so that's why we want to change all those stereotypes to let it's like I just said, strength. We want to redefine strength.
Yeah.
It takes strength to ask for help. It takes strength to go to therapy. It takes strength and boldness to actually go do this work. And sometimes we think talking about emotional stuff in therapy, maybe that feels a little feminine. No, it is masculine to talk about emotions. It is bold. So we want to change those narratives and let men know, yeah, you are human, you need therapy.
Yeah.
You need to say that again. It is masculine for men to talk about emotions. That was just a mic drop. I need you to dig a little bit deeper because that was just a juicy pop. Come on.
Emotions are not just something about being male or female. Emotions are being human. Men have skin, blood, flesh. So men feel things. We want to be able to talk about those things. When we don't talk about our emotions, when we box it all in, it's going to explode. And maybe that's why most of the emotions we notice a lot of men feel comfortable to express as being anger, frustrations, other emotions like jealousy, feeling just other emotions that doesn't seem strong. We tend to cover it up in anger. We only express anger. So when we don't name and process our emotions, it's going to come out in other ways. In fact, the emotions are going to ride us. They're going to control us. So we want to be proactive. We want to walk through our emotions, talk through our emotions, and identify those emotions, process them. It's just part of being human. So these are things within therapy. There's so many things within therapy men need to get into. Conversations like that.
I think one of the barriers I see with this as well, working with people, is there's a lack of openness for mental health, for talking about emotions. That hasn't been mirrored to them in their family. That hasn't been mirrored to them maybe in their culture. It hasn't been mirrored to them of like what does it look like to be able to have therapy or talking about emotions not as taboo, but as something that is actually needed. Actually, as Kunle talked about, is something that actually is a strength. Some of the strength that I see my men do is pushing through their walls that come up all the time. These barriers that come up, even when they're in therapy, these barriers that come up, it's like, I don't know what it looks like to process emotions. I haven't had this shown to me by a father, a brother, a mentor. I haven't had it. And so I think that's a big barrier that keeps men from coming to therapy or being vulnerable. So again, bringing all of our conversation together, it looks like the mirroring, it looks like the open conversation, it looks like normalizing, it looks like redefining. There was a question I saw there, and I'm sorry to jump ahead to it, but it really fits with this, is like, how do you, when someone doesn't want to come to therapy, right? There it is. How do you get a young man to seek therapy if he has mental health problems, but he thinks he's okay? One therapist said they can't do anything at all if the person does not want to. And I see that as true. Sometimes you can't push someone or force someone into therapy, but what you can do is you can do this normalizing work, this redefining. I see it as kind of planting seeds, right? If I open up this conversation like we're doing now, right? Like we're doing now, this is an opportunity for people to kind of see, oh, this is talked about. People that look like me are having these conversations, right? People in the community, my brothers, are having these conversations, right? It may be a slower process, but what you're doing is you're planting those seeds in that person for them to maybe be like, oh, maybe I can be vulnerable. And when I want to be, I know that there's space for me. When I want to be, I know that there's therapists who look like me that I can have this conversation with. So I think bringing all this together, this normalizing and this redefining work, and actually conversing about it is so important, because it will actually help those people that are super resistant, right? That think they don't need therapy, maybe start to realize, wow, there's other men that I even look up to. Certain rappers we see on Instagram, there's this beautiful page of actually getting some rappers in, of talking about their emotions, seeing them cry, and it's like, wow, these people actually that I look up to are talking about this. Wow, okay, maybe I wrestle with that a little bit more, and then I'm ready to reach out. So I think all the work that we're talking about here plants the seed for those people to be like, oh, maybe there is a door open for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think with a lot of men that I've worked with, they found it difficult to name their emotions. So like, I don't know if I'm sure you guys know about this, but a lot of the audience might not know. But a lot of times we can use something called like a feeling wheel. It's something you can find online. But it's like a wheel, and it shows all the different emotions that you could have, and you could even show it to your brother or your husband, whoever, and show them like what are you feeling right now, just so they can kind of learn to express like how they're actually feeling. 'Cause a lot of times men don't know, like what was said earlier. Like a lot of times they only know anger, like happiness, frustration, but they might not know other emotions that they might be experiencing. So they don't know how to name it. And just even normalizing crying. A lot of men are just like, I don't want to cry because that's not manly. Like, you're human. Crying is actually natural. And like, even when we're under a lot of stress, our body builds up a lot of cortisol, and how our body gets rid of that cortisol is through crying. So it's actually human to cry. It's normal. So it's just normalizing, like being able to express those emotions, expressing that sadness, being able to cry. Those pieces are important as well.
Yeah, it's really good.
Well, we have another question. It says studies say that the strong Black woman tropes or stereotype can be harmful because it often discourages Black women from seeking help. So the same notion of strength. Are there similar stereotypes that work against Black men in similar ways that act as barrier to seeking or accessing help?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there are similar stereotypes for men that prevents men from seeking help. The stereotype of the strong Black man, what does that mean? Even man, what does it mean to be a man? I have to be strong. So yes, those stereotypes exist. And as I read this question, what just comes to my mind, I remember some clients I had who has always been strong, and through walking therapy with me and also some therapists before me, and this question like, oh, that therapist, she broke me, I've changed, I'm always crying. But she didn't break you, she helped you open up that release. It's a good thing, you're not broken. So like, before I can stomach all this, I can take all this, but right now, um my child pulls this string and I just start crying. I said, it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. We're not broken. So sometimes those stereotypes can make us feel like when we express those emotions, we're broken. And in therapy, we can help walk them. No, that's normal. That's actually a good thing, not a bad thing. You're letting it out. You've held it in for too long. And holding it in, Andrew talked about those cortisol. It's not meant to stay in your body for so long. So crying actually lets it out. So it's a good thing. You're not broken. So there is this stereotype where we feel like by showing emotions, by crying, might seem like there's something wrong with you. But no, it's actually a sign that there's something right with you. So we need to normalize those conversations, help people see that it's okay to let down your guard. Also, there's this notion that in the wild, when you're on the street of Toronto, you gotta be sharp, you gotta be strong. No time for being soft or no time to take a break. So that notion also could make people just want to be strong and not take a break and not even take a glance and just be harsh. So it's almost like it's battle, the strongest wins. Yeah, but that's too much pressure. We need to take time. Sometimes you can do that and step away from it. You don't want to be in that all day, all week, all year. It's going to take a toll on you. So we need to learn to take a break. We need to learn to care for ourselves. We need to watch the kind of messages we receive, messages we believe, and make sure because what we think about affects how we live, who we are, and the outcome our life produces. So we want to have adequate, correct information to change those stereotypes.
I think it's the survival mode man. I think honestly, I have a lot of people that I've worked with over the last many few years that it's survival. I have to be strong. I have to be stoic. I have to be tough, right? I can't be soft, as Kunle said. It's a survival thing. But whether
survival of the fittest.
Exactly. It's the survival of the fittest thing. Matthew, can you speak on that a bit?
Yeah, essentially, I mean, I didn't mean to cut you off there, Josh.
No, you're good.
I resonate with it. And so working with business owners too, at least from my perspective, it's you have to be the best. You have to have the best product. You know, if you're not the best, you're going to miss it on this. If you don't make this amount of money, you're going to lose it on this. The world and society has planted this misconception of being a man is to never cry, never be vulnerable. You have to have money. You have to be in the best shape. You have to be a man's man. You have to be stronger than this man. You hear people say, "Oh, I saw a man. I'm like, I could take him." Like the mindset is always there. It's literally survival of the fittest, and the fittest wins. That's the stereotype. And so obviously, you know, having a conversation like this goes a long way, because there's many broken men portraying a strong man.
Yeah. It's good. Say that again, man. Say it again.
There's many broken men portraying themselves to be a strong man. So
I think a lot of these stereotypes, like a lot of men learn from young, sometimes from their mothers, their fathers, their sisters, from society, the TV shows that they're watching, music. They're constantly hearing it over and over again. And a lot of times, like the people around them have an expectation for them to change. We have to understand they've heard this for so many years. That's become their identity. And so, like, what we have to also learn is that when we decide, like, you know what, like, if a man says, like, you know what, I want to start being more open. I want to talk more. I want to speak on my emotions. I want to cry. We have to be careful with what we respond to that person, because I've found, even when I work with couples, sometimes their person or even someone else might say, "Oh, my father didn't open up. My brother didn't open up. My father did things this way. My father did things that way." You're reinforcing that stereotype for that man. So what he's going to learn to do is, like, you know what? I can't speak up. I'm just going to shut up.
Yeah.
There's no point.
Yeah.
And so, like, sometimes we have to kind of just take a step back and just listen.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this brings it back to the main topic, beyond the hustle. Men need to take time to rest, take time to care for themselves, time to pace yourself, and know that you're human. You're not robots. You're not AI. You have flesh and bones. And flesh and bones needs to take a break, needs to rest, needs to rejuvenate, or else you're going to run yourself down. So we're just going to continue to promote this information, this conversation, that men need to take care of themselves. Men, you are worthy. You have value before you accomplish anything. You have value before you make any $1 million. You have value. You are value. It's not the things you accomplish. So we need to accept that about you. Are enough just the way you are. All the things you get, that's extra. So that message needs to be repeated so people can understand and accept that.
100%. And I think it's, you know, it's a two-way street in this. How we respond and react is going to change most of it. You know, whether you're a spouse, you're a father, a brother, you want to set that environment for other people as well. So listeners, obviously you want to set that environment for them. They have to feel safe enough to come and say, "Are you okay?" How do you react to someone coming to you, and vice versa? Vulnerability has to be reciprocated. It's a circular effect. And I think, you know, I know culture plays a huge part. So my family's from Trinidad and Tobago. So they don't mince words. And I don't even know if therapy is relevant there. You know, they don't mince words. So, you know, even looking at it from childhood, that stigma always, it goes. And I know there's many cultures too that maintain that stigma. And there's no vulnerability. People are just blunt. What do you mean? You're tired? Get up. Come on, you've been lying down all day? So if a West Indian parent catches you laying down past 8, 9, you know, so it's from birth, unfortunately, but obviously, you know, to everyone out there, it applies at the home, and obviously seeking that help, letting people know it's okay. People would be more inclined to seek help, to create a brotherhood, to say, okay, I'm burning myself out. Sometimes I just need to talk to someone. And they'll be comfortable enough to do that.
Matthew, what you're talking about here is kind of that mirroring, right? Like, and yeah, some of that, like being able to show people that it's okay to be vulnerable. You talked about two-way street kind of thing, and man, right here, I think we have a unique opportunity here. I'm gonna put us on the spot. I think when we talk about vulnerability, right, we're asking people to be vulnerable. I want us for a second to be vulnerable, if that's okay. I think getting to hear from us of a question coming to my mind is like, what were some of the experiences for you that maybe upheld a certain stereotype, and how did you break it? So if anyone would like to jump on that, I just think maybe hearing some vulnerability too is allowing our listeners to be like, okay, we can be vulnerable as well. So if anyone wants to take that of what is something that you experienced maybe from young, as Andrew said, sometimes this stuff happens from young. What are some things that that impacted you from young, and how did you eventually break out of it?
Thank you for that question, Josh. I can jump in first. As you ask that question, what comes to mind first is walk for me. From a young age, walk, man. Yep. Matthew talked about his background. My background is Nigeria. I grew up in Lagos. Lagos is the most popular. There's a saying in Lagos: you have to be smart. You have to. We talk about Toronto. Lagos is almost 10 times Toronto. Like you gotta be on the grind. And I grew up my early years. You gotta be smart. Yeah, a 2-year-old is gonna dupe you. Yeah, so there's just this grind. And as I grew into adulthood, I became an accountant, working as an accountant. Working as an accountant, be on top of your game. I was working in Oakville, working maybe 8:30 to 5 p.m. That's the normal. But actually, I work till 7, 8 p.m. normal. If I need to leave work at 6 after or 7:30, I have to take permission. Like, no. This is wearing me down. I can't work these so many hours every day. And I have to call my boss. Like, what does it look like in the busy season? That's task. Like, no, we work till 12 midnight, 1 a.m. I'm like, no, this is not for me. And that was my deal breaker. I'm gonna switch career. I needed something else. And then I started volunteering in social work. Like, even though it paid way less, I like, no, it allows me space to rest. It allows me space to be me. So for me, it was taking that step. And Matthew, you also talked about therapy, not something as a Nigerian, when I said I wanted to go into be a therapist or even like, okay, you're living a good job as an accountant, you're making good money. For which other black man do you see as a therapist? And then I saw no one. So like, is he okay? Has he lost it? But I'm glad I pushed through. Right now, yes, it makes sense. I'm happy. But then it was tough to actually let go of that pressure. I remember going back to school for several years. I used to work full time. I had to quit my job, no income for years. It was difficult being around my friends or going out, like, oh, Kunle is a student, let's pay for. I was happy. Thank you for paying for me. But in some way, there's just this inconvenience. Like, no, it's okay. I'm going to accept that. This is my season of rest. So it can be tough, but it's really important to make needed change. I'm not saying quit your career or switch career, but find space for yourself to be able to care for yourself and not run yourself down. If I'm doing what I'm doing right now for the next 10, 20 years, what impact is it going to have in my life? So I took that moment. It wasn't easy, and I didn't make that decision quickly. I struggled with it. I struggled with it for a while, for months, until like, no, this is what I have to do. So yes, that's my vulnerable moment, taking that leap. And people looking at me when I made that switch, like, I saw the looks. He's lost it. A lot of Nigerians are doctors, lawyers, accountants, and you want to be.
No.
Today I'm happy I took that choice.
I think when you mentioned the idea, you know, it can be a struggle. And I think of myself trying to break out of, for me, it was, I did have a lot of emotions when I was younger, right? But I don't feel that I had the space to express them, or I felt that, you know, why do I, maybe cry a lot, or why do I feel more sensitive? And so I had to put a mask on, right? I had to walk around confident, again, being the best at everything, trying to be tough, right? Tougher than the next person. And so it created this thing where people were like, oh man, you're so confident, and all these kind of things. And for me, I knew how I was really inside. I knew I was putting on this mask. I was living kind of these two people. And that took years. You talked about months, man. This took years for me to break out of it. It was difficult, right? Like, who really am I? I've had to put on this front for so long, right? I don't want to do that anymore. It's exhausting. Right, we talked about holding emotions in and what that can do. I broke. I said, this is exhausting. And so it took quite a few years of talking to brothers like this, of going to therapy, of doing my own work, of expressing and releasing those emotions, having time where I would cry a lot, to really be like, okay, you know what, like, for myself, maybe that's why I mentioned redefining strength, because I think that's what happened for me. Is I found strength in being able to express emotions. And now what I get to do, I get to walk through other people's journeys of getting them to express emotions, to find strength in different ways, to really be like, hey, my family is back in order because some of this work that I'm doing. So yeah, you talk about that struggle, Kunle, in terms of vulnerability. It can be that struggle, but it's so worth it to really break out of these stigmas, to really find those people in those spaces that can really, allow you to express as a man.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I have more than one story, but mine's similar to yours in terms of work. So when I met my wife, I was working in hospitality. This is before becoming a software engineer. And when we met, I was working like 16-hour days, working in the hotels. So it was morning, noon, and night, working in the restaurants. And the first 3 months, we tried to see each other whenever I was off, and we tried to accommodate the times. But I gained some flexibility, but I did that for 4 years, and I tried to work my way up, and I just felt drained and exhausted. And I'm like, okay, I still need to provide. I gotta make money. I have to do all this. I decided eventually to go back to school. And my wife and I talking, going over, okay, can we do this? Is this something possible? And she was able to hold it down. But also there was a lot of guilt. Speaking of that. And I think, being vulnerable to say, okay, I can't do this anymore. I need a change of career. I've always wanted to do something in tech, computers, whatever it was. And speaking about being vulnerable and having a partner who's willing to fight in your corner and say, okay, I got us. And, after finishing, it still took 4 months to find work. So, eventually finding that, I think my brother has a similar story. He's not here, so I won't share it, but it's reaching that point where, yes, you need to provide, but I also need to pursue something greater for myself. And I think, feeling vulnerable and saying, let alone feeling vulnerable to say, I can't do it. I have a partner who's willing to fight with me. And us, talking through it and say, can we do this? Okay, this could sustain us for this amount of time. And obviously it's that communication, having that support system. It goes a long way, but I definitely, I'm glad I made the career change, just like you, Kunle. So it was a trying time. And I think looking for work, I said it was a soul-sucking experience. So I think coming into a new career, which I'm sure it might have been a journey for you, you're in a low place. You face the rejection. You face, okay, let's see this. You do those interviews and you find, okay, I'm not getting a job. I interviewed again. I applied 500 times, nothing again. Throughout that process, I was in a low place. I was like, but it was a battle. A lot of vulnerability there, a lot of not feeling good enough, so you come out of it though.
It's good.
Yeah. No, there was one point where when I was doing my master's, actually, I was working like 3 jobs.
Wow.
Yeah. So and I was getting like 2 hours of sleep, going to school, doing an internship. Like it was a lot. And I did it for like 3 years, like just hustling as much as I could.
Wow.
Yeah, like I was gaining weight, I was getting sick, my body wasn't working the same anymore. And I remember and I just felt like, yeah, I need to do this because I need to get through it. And I remember once I was close to finish, I needed to take a break because I was done. Like it was too much. And I remember one of my friends, he just called me and he was just like, yo, I see you hustling, I see you doing all this stuff, and you need to rest. And he was like, I'm just gonna give you a little bit of money every month to make sure that you're good.
Wow.
Yeah. And he helped me. He helped me that whole time. And to be honest, at first I was like, yo, I'm good. I don't need no help. What do you mean? I was like, yo, I'm a man. I'm good. I can do this on my own. But and that's how I always was. Even if sometimes my family wanted to help me or whatever, I would just be like, I'm good. I wouldn't even tell people that I was struggling. And so he just stepped up and helped me, and that made me realize yo, you know what? It's okay to help if you need it. And I had to humble myself really. Yeah.
Wow.
That's powerful. Humility, right? That's so powerful, man.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. And having that support.
Yeah.
Huge. Huge.
Yeah. I think what I'm seeing, man, I'm falling in love all the more with the title of this, of Beyond the Hustle. And I think of the things that we have talked about as things we can place beyond the hustle, out of that cycle, out of the hustle. I'm speaking to our listeners here. I'm speaking to myself. I'm speaking to you all here with me. There is healing for our nervous system. Andrew and Kunle talked about the nervous system, about the emotions, about our cortisol levels, and there's healing for our nervous system. There is support from brothers, like Andrew just talked about in his story. There is community, there's connection, there's relational repair, there is joy, there's being able to not have to wear masks and be tough all the time. There is stepping out of survival mode into more of that thriving, where we feel regulated and feel more like ourselves, like we're not just holding on by a thread. There is so much beyond the hustle, and I think I wanted to share that because I think some people, what I'm realizing nowadays in therapy or any mental health conversation is people want to have some buy-in. We're looking for a heal. We're looking for something. I want to know that there is something beyond here. Yeah. I want to know that there is something. And the conversation we just had, man, there's so much beyond the hustle. And I think hopefully this can be a seed planted for someone to be like, oh, maybe those are the things that I've been wanting. These things that these gentlemen and Felicia have been talking about. These are the things I've been wanting: healing, to rest, to take that trip to Europe, to have brothers that support and being able to receive it and not be like, no, I'm good, right? To maybe unravel a bit. That's a word that's been coming up in my life a bit. Being able to unravel a bit, and not have to hold it together. This is what's offered to us beyond the hustle. As we find the support, as we talk like this with community, as we go to therapy, as we tune in to radio stations like this and at times like this, man, I'm just loving the title all the more because there really is a ton beyond the hustle.
100%. That's well said, man.
And I do want to let you know we've been given 10 more minutes, guys.
Perfect.
And we have listeners in Australia that is saying great show, and in Nigeria it's saying that it's an awesome topic. And thank you so much, Jayoras, for saying awesome to see young men in this profession. Thank you. I wanted to ask, and I wanted to throw it out to you guys, how do we break this cycle in boys? Because we're talking about this topic now that you guys have grown, you guys are men, but can we put a stop to this cycle, this idea of grinding and hustle, even from, I'm a mom, I have 2 little boys, right? So tell me, educate me, how do I stop it in its tracks and give my sons the freedom to just be vulnerable and take rest?
I think just by having conversations with them, just sitting down and having conversations with them and showing them by example.
Yeah.
Because yeah, when I was younger, I didn't see a lot of men resting often. Like my parents, my family was from Barbados, and like my grandfather was a fisherman. He'd get up early in the morning, go fishing, come home, cut sugar cane, cut down breadfruit, and then go to sleep late, then get up and do it the same day from Monday to Sunday. Like that's all he did. So like, yeah, like a lot of men didn't see like older men or even so a lot of times women like resting a lot of times, like taking that time to rest, having those conversations with them. So I think, yeah, just talking to them, sitting down, talking to them and saying like, yeah, sometimes this is what I do when I need to rest. This is what I do when I feel anxious. Yeah, and showing them those examples as well.
Yeah, that's good. I think I echo that. I want to do a shout out. I have some people that I met through work, Nikita and Nigel. And you can find them on Instagram on their Melanin Combos. But Nikita and Nigel do this thing where they are walking through with their young son what it looks like to express and experience and be able to have that open space to share and talk about emotions. And I love the work they're doing. There is this openness. I think that's what it is I think as was just shared, is there's this openness that we can have with our young children, not just when they get to teen years and things maybe start to get kind of rocky then, but man, their son is young and they're having experience, father experience, mother experience, emotional experience, adventure. They're doing so much with their son that it just inspires me that when I have my own children, this is what I want to do. I want to have that openness. I want to have that conversation. So huge shout out to Nikita and Nigel. Again, Melanin Combos on Instagram. They talk about life and family and I just love it. So yeah,
That's amazing.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yeah, something we can also add to how that's been said is I know oftentimes boys like to rumble and tumble, and that's good. We can rumble and tumble, play with our boys. We can have a conversation. It's also important to give boys kisses, give them hugs,
Yes.
hold them,
Yeah,
kiss
yeah.
them, have routine, just things you do with boys that it's not feminine. They're kids. You just want to love up on them. We don't want them to only see just the rumble and tumble. That's the only thing we do. Also, boys learn a lot from mentorship, seeing somebody they admire. So we want to, as men, we want to be vulnerable around the boys, around the kids, that they see this is what it is. So they learn more by watching us. So we want to be the same way. We want to make sure we're being vulnerable and they're learning it's okay. If I have these emotions, I see that let it out, I can let it out. I could share my emotion. I can cry. And just teaching them how to be vulnerable, have those conversations, give them kisses, role model, and let them know it's okay to be yourself.
Yeah, I echo all of that. I think it covers that, just having that open communication. And I think that goes a long way, and also being a living example of what you want your child to know. I think, yeah.
What about, the dads out there right now who feel like they didn't start it off vulnerable and maybe they feel like either maybe they're feeling some guilt right now or they feel like it may be too late. What's your message to them?
yeah, it's never too late. And I'm sorry to jump in this. I know, I love to jump at these questions, but I think a big part of and lens of the work that I do is nervous system safety. It's this idea of safety. And you might have think you've dropped the ball and that kind of stuff, but our bodies are so adaptable. We're not stuck because maybe we've made a mistake as parents or as people, right? As you can maybe step into that place of establishing safety, this can rewire, and their brains are still being shaped. This can rewire things. This can shape things. This can set a precedent of safety, of openness, right? So it's not too late. You haven't dropped the ball, even for yourself. Um, Even for yourself, if you're a maybe 30, 40, and you think, man, I just haven't done it myself, you can actually walk through this with your with your son, right? Build this sense of openness, build this sense of safety, and that child will respond. This is what they're looking for. This is deep in attachment work. This is what they're looking for. They're looking for a secure base, a safe haven. They're looking for someone that they can experience and explore with. And so you might have think you haven't started, you should have started, younger. You should have started whenever our bodies are so amazing that our bodies are still looking for the sense of safety and security, and you can still bring that into your relationship with your sons. So I love it. I love the combo.
That's true.
Absolutely. This just reminds me of my own experience with my dad. I remember when I was in elementary school, my dad, he was a civil servant. He was done at work by 3. He and his driver will come pick us at school, take us home. We get home, we have lunch, and dad takes a nap. He takes a nap. And I just remember being 7, 8 years old. I just like to cozy up to him as he's lying there on just smell his armpits or just touch him, whatever. And he kind of role model that safe space, safety, self-care.
Wow.
Goes from work, he takes a nap. And I'm not sleeping, but I just want to be there. And he allowed me just be there, just touch, rumble, or just have that connection. And then he wakes up in the evening, he goes to my mom's store, go hang out, talk to people, have fun, help out with their sales, and then they close and go back home. And that's his routine. So I really saw that example of taking care of yourself, taking time for yourself, doing the things you need, and also enjoying life. I used to be amazed. I remember my dad then, he was a big man. I mean, he had soldiers as his drivers. And he would close from work, take a nap, and then go to my mom's store and sell something petty, for example, maybe candy of 50 cents, and he's having, take your money. And I was just shocked, like, look at this man. What's 50 cents to him? Nothing. But it's the interaction with people. It's the communication. And I think it's kind of part of what led me to what I do today. I think I took a lot of that from my dad. He saw value in people. That was the most valuable thing. Not his job, not what he earns, not his position, but people. It doesn't matter if what they're buying is 50 cents. He saw talking to those people really valuable, and he also took time for himself. So it's not too late if you find yourself in this situation. Maybe we've not been doing that. You can change that narrative. You can teach your kids. You can rewire. You can show them. You can mentor them. And that you're having this information shows you have lots of time. So yes, never too late.
100%. And if you look, and also if you're on that journey of transformation and you allow your sons to see that journey of transformation and who you become, it's obviously living by example, like Kunle's dad, it's never too late for that transformation at all.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
100%. And I know some men, you might not have kids, but like one thing that I've learned to do is just even with my brother, like I'll hug him and tell him I love you. With my friends, like even, and it might sound weird for me to say this, but a lot of times with my friends, like I'll, like even before we hang up the phone, like I'll say I love you, bro. Like I just let them know like I care about you, and they'll say the same thing back, right? And it just kind of normalizes those emotions and those feelings, those conversations, and so it doesn't feel weird anymore.
Yeah. I honestly, Andrew, I do the same.
Yeah.
My brother, my boys, it's like I love you, bro. Like it's reciprocated, and we know it's there. So that's huge.
Yes. We see it's not weird. Normalize it. Well, guys, brothers, I knew today was going to be absolutely fire. We have let's keep the conversation going. Great tips. Honestly, this is just the beginning. Every second Tuesday of the month is Barbershop Tuesday. Okay, so this is not the end. We want you to invite your brothers, your uncle, your grandpa, your cousins, your nephews, because we need this. We need this open forum. And Josh, Kunle, Matt, Andrew, tonight was fire. So thank you. Thank you. And thank you so much, Love Bay family, for showing up in the chat, for listening. We appreciate you. Please, if you have things that you want our panel to address, please send it to us so that we can prepare to talk about it. this platform is for us. So let's make use of this. So until next time, peace out. Next week, we have Dr. Natasha Williams. I'm so excited. So tune into our Insight Hour next week. Until then, take care. Bye, Love Bay family.
Bye,
Yeah.
everyone.
Everyone.